Get groceries delivered to your door in as fast as an hour with Instacart. They handpick fresh groceries from your local store and let you shop multiple stores in a single order. Use our link to get free delivery on your first order over $35. Just visit cart.simpsonsiblings.com or check out the link in the description.
Hey everybody, I'm Sari.
And now I'm Sean.
And we're the Simpsons siblings. We've been watching The Simpsons forever.
And we talk about that all the time.
Yeah. And today's episode is Brick Like Me, Season 25, Episode 20. Originally aired May 4th, 2014. Written by Brian Kelly. Directed by Matthew Nastuk.
And this is one of our first episodes that we've both not seen.
I know.
I mean, we're very strong in like the first 15 seasons.
Yep.
And here we are jumping to 25.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here too is there's no intro at all.
Yeah, because I usually go over like the couch gag and the chalkboard.
Yeah, because I was sitting here like, okay, now it's his turn to say the couch gag. And I'm like, oh, there isn't one.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have to check. I don't know if that's to give more episode time or more commercial time, but either way, it just feels wrong.
Usually it's more episode time. They kind of trim that based on the episode time, which this one seemed pretty beefy. There's a lot happening.
Yeah, and looking back, I mean, when I first started the episode, I just kind of went, "Aw," when there wasn't anything, but
yeah,
there was a lot to this episode.
There was a lot. So yeah, this is our first HD episode that we've covered. This is our first quote-unquote modern Simpsons. Sometimes they call it the HD era. And yeah, neither of us has seen this one before, so we went into this totally fresh.
And it was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was. And I was this episode is on a lot of best modern Simpsons lists. One of which is from The Real Gems.
The Real Gems.
Love me some Real Gems. And definitely trusted his opinion on this one, so we thought we'd give it a shot and shake things up a little bit.
Glad we did.
Yup. And also, this is the 550th episode of The Simpsons.
Wow.
And they just recently had their 700th. So this episode is 150 episodes old.
That's weird.
That's weird. Yeah. Do we start out with Homer waking up?
We start with Homer yelling, "It's not selling out, it's co-branding."
Yeah, and he's having like a nightmare. And we actually wake up, we start out right in the Lego world. Mm-hmm. Which I wrote down, it's so weird to have an episode with so much CGI. And I was just thinking, going back to Homer Cubed in the Treehouse of Horror.
Yes.
Can you imagine showing this episode to them while they were making that episode? Because I remember seeing interviews about Homer Cubed where they were talking about how much effort they put into it, and the graphics do not look very good.
I remember seeing that for the first time, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, and this episode blows that out of the water. It's just so interesting to see.
And there's really only a couple minutes of CGI in that, too.
Yeah, in Homer 3 compared to this, where it's just mostly the whole episode in CGI. And I'm not super familiar with a lot of the modern episodes, but they don't use a ton of CGI. In this sense, where they're completely animated in 3D.
Yeah.
So it really is a cool sight to see after so many years since Homer Cubed.
And it's interesting to see when they flip back and forth between the animation styles, how jarring it is.
Oh, that's really cool, yeah, when we get to that. And I love how they converted so much of the stuff to the Lego universe, and even going as far as Maggie being a Duplo.
Yeah, because at first I was wondering, why is she so big? And then it made sense.
Yep. It definitely, I have a kid that loves Legos now, and she used to love Duplos as a toddler, so I'm very familiar with
Homer,
that.
they're so cute when they're Duplo.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a sweet line. All right, so Homer heads out of the house, and I had to pause for some of these signs. This is going to happen quite a bit through this episode. We've got Lard Fig Donuts, 99 Stud Store, Bricky Mart, H&R Brick, First Brick of Springfield, Brick Block and Beyond, and this one came up very fast. It took me a while to get this one. It just says Adult Bricks.
Like adult books.
Yeah, except it's bricks. And I love how everything is using what look like real Lego parts. Like my daughter has a Lego car that has that same front grille as Homer's car. That's just like one piece. That's a couple lines.
Yeah.
And then the rear view mirrors are those little attached pieces with the little arms. Like they actually look like real Lego pieces.
I wonder how much when they were making this episode, like when they were doing the animation, if the Lego people sent over assets, like digital assets.
Yeah,
just
I
like
bet.
all their files and said, okay, this is what you're okay to use.
Yeah, because, well, this was actually, and I can go further into this at the end, but this was made pretty much alongside the Lego movie. So I'm wondering if they did send out some of those assets.
Probably.
For them. Yeah, just to at least make it a little bit easier on
And
them.
even just for consistency.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the size of the phone compared to Homer's face. It's
Right.
just huge. And this was also 2014 is 7 years ago. It's so weird. And it seemed like back then there was much more of a problem of people talking on their phones while they're driving. Whereas more of more now it's texting and driving. Like you even see signs now that say no texting and driving, which before it was no talking on the phone while driving.
Yeah, even now if people are talking, it's on speakerphone. All the cars have Bluetooth, whereas back then it was people had the phone up to their ears.
Yep. And of course, this results in Homer hitting Krusty the Clown, who dissolves into a bunch of pieces. And he says, I have the best excuse. I was distracted driving.
I mean, it is an excuse.
It is a excuse, yeah. And the whole exchange with Krusty's leg getting mixed up with
I like that.
it was Mr. Teeny.
Yeah, Mr. Teeny.
Yeah. And oh my gosh. It for some reason it brought me back to when Grandpa Simpson loses his teeth to the turtle.
Yeah. And
I don't know why I thought of that
the
scene.
turtle's walking with the giant teeth.
Yeah. I don't know why that brought me back to that. So we have Milhouse bringing a skunk to school.
Yes.
Which, I mean, happens. I mean, Bart brought his dog to school once, so, I mean, Milhouse will bring a skunk. And he says that it's fixed.
Or desacked.
Desacked, yeah. And of course it isn't. And I never, ever thought I would see Lego brick skunk urine.
Yeah.
But now I have.
The gypsy skunk seller lie.
Yeah.
Love that line.
Oh, goodness. Milhouse, you need to find a better, reputable skunk seller.
Maybe there's just no choices.
Yeah. So there's sort of this progress of scenes where the skunk runs away. They go into the spot under the school, and Willie says that the whole foundation's pretty much there, and they can break the school. And then they say, well, there's a skunk in there, and he goes, Scottish steak, which is disgusting and probably inaccurate, but it's funny. And then, of course, they knock over the whole school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because Bart and Milhouse are carefully disassembling the wall piece by piece.
And then Willie's the one that finishes the job.
But then Bart gets in trouble for it.
Yeah, poor Bart. So Bart has to rebuild the school, and they bring out the instructions, and they copied the look of the instructions perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So moving on to the androids dungeon.
Yeah, which I was looking for something on the front of the store that was different in naming and everything, but it's once you get inside that all the comic books and everything have different names.
And I actually had some that are pretty obscure. I mean, they're not super obscure, but so we have Radioactive Fig. That's obviously Radioactive Man.
Mm-hmm.
But then we've got Block Runner, the 3-brick Mata of Palmer Elbrick, U-Brick, We Can Build You, the Minifig in the High Castle, Beyond Lies the Stud, Do Minifigs Dream of Plastic Sheep, and a Scanner Blockley, which a lot of these are Philip K. Dick books, and instead it is Philip K. Brick.
The writers had fun with this.
They had a lot of fun. So that, and it's such like a quick thing that you have to pause to see.
Yeah, and there were a lot of them too.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in this episode. So Homer buys the Perky Patty's Princess Shop build set, and we immediately go back to the real world. All right, so Homer gets her the set in the real world, and Lisa wants him to build it with her. And so he builds it with her, and he says that he enjoyed building it with her. And she says, well, you play with me all the time.
This scene was kind of sad.
I know. I was originally going to watch this with my daughter, and she fell asleep during the scene, and I was kind of glad she did. Like, she was asleep during most of the episode, and when the scene came on, I was like, oh God, I'm glad she's asleep. Because, I mean, I can relate with some of this, but it's, for Homer, it seems like 97% of the time he doesn't want to play with her, whereas for me, it's probably like maybe 40% of the time.
Yeah, he's very unmotivated.
Oh yeah, he takes this to the extreme, whereas like I enjoy playing with my kid most of the time. There are certain things I do just because she wants to do them, but
like
Homer, Candyland, which he should have said Chutes and Ladders. I totally think he should have said Chutes and Ladders instead of Candyland for torture.
Yeah, you can't roll backwards on Candyland.
Yeah, because Chutes and Ladders can last. Chutes and Ladders is purgatory, the game. You cannot escape.
Yeah.
Yes. I know even our parents talk about that. Like, once every couple months, they will be like, oh, Chutes and Ladders. Oh, my God. That is just, it lasts forever, and you go backwards. But anyways, I can understand what he's saying.
We should have a family night with Mom and Dad where we bring Chutes and Ladders.
And be like, hey, we got this great board game. You're going to love it. And then pull it out of the bag, and it's Chutes and Ladders.
And she's listening right now, just shaking her head.
Oh my gosh, they would hate that. Oh yeah, they do listen to this. So
yes.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Hi.
Let's play some Chutes and Ladders sometime.
I'm sorry. Thank you for playing with us.
Thank you for playing Chutes and Ladders with us. But yeah, there definitely are a lot of times I enjoy playing with my kid, much more than Homer says. But there are those Chutes and Ladders type games that are just, you just got to push through them. And it sort of goes back to the brick life again pretty quickly. This is sort of just a quick flashback into...
But he's remembering how he looked then. He talks about how his hand looked like snakes made out of meat.
Yes, which is such a creepy way of thinking of your hands.
I know, and that's going to stick with me for a while.
And I noticed a Life in Hell poster behind the Comic Book Man, which was the comic series Matt Groening did before The Simpsons.
Oh, cool.
So that was like a kind of a little bit more of an obscure reference. So I love Homer trying to explain all this to Marge, and she reassures him by saying, "Oh, homie, it was probably just a mini stroke."
That's all.
And Homer goes, "You're just saying that to make me feel better."
Which sounds like it probably wasn't the first that he had.
No. Which makes me think back to the scene where he has the heart attack in Mr. Burns' office. I hate
where
that
you can
scene.
see the heart.
That scene gives me so much anxiety. Oh my gosh, but it's also so well animated, which is why it gives me so much anxiety. And then we have Homer and Marge snuggling.
Yes.
And I lost it at the zoom out where all their pieces are just everywhere.
I know.
Because it would just kind of, you could put the pieces together, pun intended.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Yeah, yes. And this is a small detail, but I really love the way the moon is animated. It's only showed for like a split second.
And it's physically close to the house.
Yeah, it looks huge.
But you can see every individual brick that makes up that giant sphere.
So they took a lot of time making that shot that only lasts.
There was a lot of shading on it too.
Yeah, it's a lot of detail put in this episode. So Homer wakes up in the morning and sees his real face in the mirror, which is just an awesome effect.
Yeah.
And he gives me the line of the episode that I want to deliver verbatim. "Marge, did you replace our regular mirror with a magical mirror from a mystical salesman at a weird store that if we went back to find it, it wouldn't be there anymore?"
which was kind of like, was it the monkey paw episode? There was something where that's exactly what it
and
was.
they're like, oh, where'd you get that? Over there. And then it's gone, and there's like wind going, and it's like, oh, never mind, it was over there.
Yes.
And the guy's standing there waving. Oh gosh. So Homer keeps seeing his reflection in different things, including the Quickie Mart windows.
Oh, when he's yelling, why don't you go back to where you came from? When Apu's on the other side.
Oh, poor Apu, that's so sad. Oh yeah, and then I love Apu's comeback where he's like, I'm supposed to be here. I'm in the advent calendar.
Yes.
Because every year my kid gets that advent calendar.
Yep.
Every year. And you get different little thingies every day. There's so many like references to, like, I think if you have kids and you watch this episode, especially kids that play with Lego, because we both have kids that enjoy Lego.
Yeah.
So we definitely appreciate some of these little references. Oh, okay. So they go to the bar, and this is where I saw the love tester. And this is where it gets a little risque if you think about it.
I missed that part.
Okay. So, yeah, because you have to pause it and really look at it. So on the love tester in Moe's bar, from bottom to top, the love tester says gray 1x1, blue 3x1, yellow 4x2 flat, orange 6x2 brick with holes, and then the top one is red 8x2 with slanty part and hinge. So I'm thinking, are they talking about sizes of body parts?
I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, so that's Lego, those kind of body parts. That is something they had to approve with the Lego company. And I actually wrote down at the end I looked up some facts about this episode, and Lego actually liked that they could put a little bit more adult humor in this sort of thing. Not super adult, but a little bit more than the Lego movie.
Enough where we know
what they mean.
Lego's run by adults.
Yeah. So we have Homer at the bar, and he's surprised when his beer turns into actual liquid.
How am I supposed to drink this?
Yeah. And I love how perfectly the pieces fit into the mug when he originally gets it. It's just like three little pieces that sort of perfectly stack.
And I did notice, too, I think they put a little bit extra into the animation of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're focused on that. And the fluid movement is so smooth.
Oh, yeah. Like, they really animated that super extra well. So we go back to Bart. And he recreates the school the way he wants, which has extra skateboard half pipes, zip lines, Terminator gym teachers, and a haunted forest principal office.
And we talk about the part of the building that's made with Ralph.
Yes.
It zooms over to him being in the wall. Yo soy language lab.
Oh, Ralph.
And we also get Skinner saying, how will children learn if they don't feel like they're in kid jail?
Oh my God. And I feel like this sort of goes to the moral of the Lego movie a little bit. The whole going with the instructions versus kind of going out and doing your own thing, where Principal Skinner's trying to keep it to a set thing of rules where Bart's trying to explore and be more creative.
Yeah, there was kind of that back and forth with the Lego movie as well.
Yeah. So then we get to the church.
I love this scene.
This is a great scene. I actually looked up some facts after watching this, and in this scene they tried to get as many of the characters as they could into the minifig form.
Oh, nice.
So you can see a lot of characters in the background of this scene that you don't see otherwise in the show, in this episode, but you get to see what they look like as the little Lego figures, which I particularly thought Patty and Selma looked really cool. They got like the grumpiness of their face really well.
I'd love to buy a whole set of these.
Oh yeah, they have a set with, it's the Simpsons house and the family and Ned Flanders. It's so expensive now though. It released about this time, and they're super expensive now because they're out of print, but that's how it goes. So we have Reverend Lovejoy's sermon where he says, first there was only table. and then he's kind of goes into it. He's like, then there was the bag that was open, and then they separated the pieces, and
there was a pile of doors.
Yes. And I love that on the altar they have one of those little tools. I don't know if you've ever seen those where it takes the pieces out.
Like the orange separator tool.
Yeah, like that's like their cross.
And it has a little cross in it too as
Oh
part
my
of the
gosh.
thing. And it was on the wall as of where the cross would be.
Oh my gosh. Everything is just so in universe for this. They just, they put so much thought into this episode. And we get Homer seeing his hands again. And everyone else sees it now this time.
It's the first time that everyone sees it.
Yep.
And Ned takes Rod and Todd's heads,
Yeah.
and pops them off and hides them.
And we get Grandpa Simpson's line, "He's a freak. Take him apart and lose the pieces under the couch."
Yes.
So Homer realizes then that if he touches that box again, he'll go back to the other universe. That's sort of the connection he has.
It's the reminder of real life.
Yep. So he goes back and he touches the box. And now him and Lisa are building Legos in the basement, which is super Lego Movie vibes.
Yeah, that's exactly Lego Movie.
The funny thing is Lego Movie released in February of this year. And then in the year that this released. So it was February 2014 was Lego Movie. And then May 2014 was this episode. So they wrote this and made this during the Lego Movie production. So they didn't copy this unless they got script notes about the Lego Movie.
It seems like with the close collaboration between the two, they would
have had to.
Even at a minimum say, here's a joke to use. You'll get it when the movie comes out.
Yeah, because they do reference the movie a little bit later, saying, hey, isn't this similar? So it's something to think about. So they find out about a Lego competition and decide to enter. And Homer cancels a fight between him and Lenny and some surfer dudes, which I love that this comes back later.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even think about adding this in my notes until it came back later.
I know. And poor Lenny on the phone when Homer pulls out of the fight and says, oh, you just take care of it. And then he goes, well, you're the one who sat on the... And then he hangs up the phone.
Wasn't it you sat on their fish tacos?
Yes.
Yeah. So Homer builds a mini Duff brewery that actually brews, which that would have taken a lot of effort.
Well, he does know his nuclear science.
I was thinking too, back from when he was brewing the beer on his own, and he had that whole complicated system. Like, that's the only thing he's really smart at.
Because Marge, like we said in the past episode, Marge was super proud of him for that.
Yeah, and he had the whole system with the bowling balls and everything, and now he's making a tiny contraption that makes beer out of Lego pieces.
If there's one thing he knows how to do, it's how to make alcohol.
Yeah, there we go. So we have Lisa talking with some older girls in her room about the survival games, which of course, being 2014, this was when Hunger Games was pretty big. And Homer comes in and embarrasses her.
And poor Homer, he's just like classic Homer style. Right when he wants to do the right thing, he does it in the wrong way.
Yep. Yeah, and I love the line, I'm sure she told you all about the tiny town she's building with her overweight father.
Yes.
He means well, he just does not know how to deliver that right. So Lisa decides to ditch Homer to see the movie with the older girls instead of going to the competition or the convention. And I absolutely love, this is where they bring back Lenny fighting with the surfer dudes.
Yes.
And he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's 1 against 2.
Yeah, and he's getting them.
And they're yelling, this is for the tacos.
Yeah. Oh man, that was kind of like a classic Simpsons moment, but in a modern episode. I was pleasantly surprised.
The good old structure of they set up for a joke, but you don't realize it until the final punchline comes in.
Yep. So we get Homer arriving at the convention, and he says a line that's sort of been repeated by the Lego people, which is, he says, I wish I lived in a little Springfield. And he says, everything fits together and nobody gets hurt. And that's something that's been repeated several times in the Lego land area. And that kind of callback is pretty classic, that it's not really meant to be funny. It's sort of just meant to tie the whole story together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about when the comic book guy's Lego statue falls on him because he's trying to make the boobs bigger.
And they didn't use the usual standard Homer getting hurt noises. This was a rough hit.
Oh, yeah.
It was like it knocked the wind out of him. It hurt him badly.
Yep. Which, great delivery on that. So Homer decides that he wants to live in the fantasy versus the reality, because he understands then what has happened to him.
Well, and I have written down for that where his quote says, "Woohoo, I'm trapped in a fantasy world forever." And I have written down, because I don't know if everyone will get this, but me being a big anime nerd, it's Simpsons S25E20, which is the whole genre of being taken away to another world.
Oh.
So that was a nice little blend for me. I had to make a note of that.
Yeah. I don't understand what that means, but I know a lot of people will.
Yeah.
We'll appreciate that. So I wrote down some more signs. We got the Plastic Surgery Center,
Yes.
which has like a before and after picture, and both of them look the same, except one has like more boob lines drawn in. And we have fine torsos for men. And on the Jebediah Springfield statue, it says, "A noble spirit imbrickens the miniest fig."
I was almost hoping you didn't catch that.
Oh, really?
I have that written down too.
Oh, do you want to say it too? I can edit it in.
No, you're good.
Okay.
But what was the other? Oh, it's a very cromulent quote.
Oh, it's a very cromulent quote. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So we have Homer knocking over the police helicopter to show that there's just, no consequences in this place. And he says, "Oh, good throw, Homer." And he says, "Put it in Tupperware. We'll build it again tomorrow."
Yep. And they've already got the label.
Yep.
Police helicopter.
Yep. That was just pretty cute little scene. And Homer also makes a really weird specific Matrix reference where he says, "Who would give up eating steak in the Matrix?" Oh, Cypher.
And then Marge just says, "Oh, that movie doesn't exist here."
How did she even know it was a movie? He doesn't say that. Oh. So Homer has a tea party with Lego Lisa, and I find it as really big. I feel like this is almost the defining moment of the episode in a weird way, even though it's such a small scene. But after his whole rant earlier, he's now enjoying having a tea party with Lisa.
Yeah, it's like he's processing those subconsciously.
And he's kind of almost wishing that he would have soaked in those times a bit more when she was younger versus now when she doesn't want to spend time with him.
Yeah, because she's phasing out of that.
Yeah, so I think he's sort of processing his own regrets here. And this is sort of when he sort of comes to understand the real situation, which is that there's so much that he'll never do if time stands still, and Lisa just stays a child.
Yeah, and that's when he starts drawing more towards going back to the real world.
Yeah.
And looking for ways to get there.
Which is kind of ironic considering they're on a floating timeline and Lisa will always be a child.
Yeah.
Well, we won't go into that.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode
on continuity.
On like the time scale of The Simpsons.
Yeah. And I love the line, "Lego Marge, you're just as cool as real Marge." And she just goes, "Who?" So Homer tells comic book guy that he wants to go back, and he thinks opening the box will get him back.
Because that's the connection between the two worlds.
Yeah, which, I mean, that'd be weird. I feel like if we ever did a Futurama podcast, this sort of reminds me of the box episode.
Oh, yeah. What was the
Parabox?
Farnsworth Parabox.
Yeah, because this reminded me of that a lot. Yeah.
Fun episode.
Yeah. Maybe in another universe. Yeah. So this was kind of when comic book guy sort of turns. And because he doesn't want to leave and this is kind of making me think of Star Trek when the hologram doesn't want to leave the the whole Sherlock Holmes
Moriarty,
where he doesn't want to leave the program because then he won't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So comic book guy doesn't want him to end the fantasy because then he won't exist. So he attacks, and of course he has all of the classic Lego sets, including the ninjas and the pirates.
Well, as Homer calls the ninjas, pajama guys.
Pajama guys! My God, Homer. So we have Bart coming in to save him, which I feel like from a story perspective, they should have had Lisa save him. I feel like that would have tied things together a bit more. But there was more humor with Bart saving him.
There's more chaos.
Yeah. Bart. So they maybe in the end they did make the best decision to have Bart come and save him.
Because we have like the lion gun.
Yeah. Oh my God. And just, he was just shooting like lightsabers for some reason. And doesn't he shoot Principal Skinner's head out of a gun?
That's the final blow.
Yep. He ultimately falls on top of the building and everything shatters. And I thought this was going to be a big thing where Homer wouldn't be able to find the box, but he actually finds it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So Homer finds the box rather quickly, and he falls into the box to get back to his original reality. And so Homer wakes up, and he's still at the Lego convention, and now Lisa is there. And he kind of explains what happens, and she goes, "Isn't that the plot of..." And he kind of interrupts her. So that...
And then did you see in the background?
No, I didn't see it.
Emmett and... What's her name? They're two big reconstructions of them go past in the background.
I didn't notice
right
that.
As they say that. Yep.
I didn't notice that at all.
What's her name?
Wildstyle?
Yeah, Emmett and Wildstyle. Two big, large-scale reproductions of them go in the background.
How did I miss that? I need to look that up. He has the orange
vest on even. Yeah. It's very bright and noticeable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because that definitely connects it. They had to have been exchanging script notes because I have more facts after. I'll get into that after all.
It's like that whole episode where they're talking about fictional characters in court and they talk about Chief Wiggum and he just kind of looks at the camera.
Oh, God, I love that scene. Oh, man. So Homer tells Lisa that she can go ahead and go to the movie, that he can't stop her from growing up.
Yeah.
And then we have that big long zoom out, and it reveals that this is a brick set as well. The universe, age 13 billion plus, number of pieces 10 to the 80th power.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a nice little ending wrapping.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got some facts. This took over 2 years to produce.
Wow.
Which is why I kept saying they had to have been giving each other notes, because they must have known the plot to the Lego movie 2 years before the movie ever even came out.
Yeah, and just how much, like, going back and forth, if they make any changes to the Lego movie, make sure it doesn't impact the Simpsons episode.
Mm-hmm. And something else that I was thinking is part of what makes this episode so good is there aren't a ton of current event commentary. It's not like they're throwing in Lady Gaga and stuff like that they do in other modern episodes that makes it too concentrated on that year. They made this kind of timeless because it took 2 years. They couldn't do current jokes because they would be out of date by the time it would come out. So I think that was a pro in this situation, that they had to make jokes that were always funny and not just jokes that were making fun of something in the news or something current.
Yeah.
So Lego pitched to The Simpsons. They wanted to do a Lego-themed couch gag. And The Simpsons responded that why not do a whole episode?
Oh, that's a bold response.
Yup. And that was about the time they wanted it to coincide with the release both of the Lego movie and the Lego Simpsons set that was coming out, which was the house that is now worth so much money, and I want it, dang it. But it's really expensive.
Good co-branding.
Good co-branding, as they say from the very first line. But it also doesn't feel forced. And it's not like they were like, go buy the Lego set. Like, it was all very in-universe stuff that they were referencing. It didn't seem like it was selling out. Yeah,
because even if they do the whole thing of, like, ironically saying go buy it, even though it's a joke, but it's still telling you to go buy it, they don't even do that. It's just...
And even when they had the Lego characters in, it was so subtle that I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were throwing it in your face.
That's why I'm surprised, too. You were watching for details.
Yeah, and I think I must have been just... I don't know why I need to go back and watch that part. But they didn't throw it in your face like, go see the Lego movie. Here's the Lego movie characters in the whole episode. It was done carefully, and you can tell that they loved both of these universes that they were putting together. And dang, like, this makes me want to watch more modern Simpsons, but I know that I will get burned by a lot of them by expecting too much. But I also know that a lot of people, like the Real Gyms, say that there are little bits of gold to be found in them there hills. You know, like, just because they aren't consistently good doesn't mean there aren't little gems like this that you can find. Yeah, and we just kind of need those people to kind of curate a list to let us know where to go. I can't sit and watch all of them. I don't have that much patience. But yeah, I'm super glad we did this one because I never thought to watch this one. I didn't even know this one existed. Well, it's always fun watching an episode that I've seen since childhood with an analytical eye, catching different little things I didn't see before. But this, it was all brand new, and we could just get that fresh perspective on it. It was really nice. Yeah, just a completely brand new experience. All right, so thank you for listening to our episode on Brick Like Me. And go ahead and follow us on Twitter at SimpsonsSibs if you want to catch up with us. And tune in 2 weeks. Our next episode will be Season 7, Episode 4, Bart Sells His Soul. So, I love that one. Yeah, this is my birthday episode. So we agreed that the closest episode to each of our birthdays, we get to pick one, no questions asked. It is one of my top 10 episodes, so we're doing Bart Sells His Soul. Listen to the episode before you listen to the podcast to get the fullest experience. And until then, bye everybody.